Is Deb going to be talking to us? Maybe she slipped away. What we want to talk about before I begin the joy are explaining those beautiful gift baskets brought to you from the Bliss team. Donation of the tickets, there's prices out there and they're really a good deal for you. You find the ingredients of those baskets, they're all laid out there for you to look at. And then you can buy the ticket and put your little coupon in, and then in a few weeks we get to draw one ticket and you won the basket and your Christmas shopping is done. You can, What's that? If only. Well, you could pick the basket apart and give somebody one of everything. But they were a blast to put together, and we're just really excited about those. So enjoy. That's what Deb was going to talk about. And I am here to share Joy Revealed. And I was noticing, especially at the 9 o'clock service, many of us were wearing different colors of orange, and I just remembered that was Cynthia's favorite color. We found that out yesterday, and then today we're filling the sanctuary with one of her glorious colors. So I also want to thank the people that came and helped us with Seva yesterday, and to see the young family and washing windows and the little boys so dang excited about carrying the Windex bottles. I thought, there's joy revealed. There was no grumpiness, no, you have to do what? Wash windows? My arms are tired. And I even took a spill back there, but it didn't even hurt. There was a plug sticking up, and I hit it with my foot, and I went flying. One of those kind of commercials, like, help me, I've fallen, and I can't get up. I didn't do that. I just jumped up and said, that didn't happen to me. I think Ray pushed me. But it was like interesting moments that we have at this center, joyful moments. And it's all a part of what I want to share today, Joy Revealed. Because what makes me especially excited is the revelation of recognizing that joy is ever present, like love is ever present. And this joy that is so exuberant, so expressive in so many different ways, from just a smile, a gentle smile at a commercial on TV, to joyous moments of watching children, watching the dinosaur come up and watching the peace signs and the little children's faces, that littlest one, all of a sudden at the very end of the song going, I think I can do this. But nobody else is doing it, but I got it. I think she's like, 2? So sweet. All of this, joy revealed. So we're looking at Roger Teal's book, This Life is Joy. And I am going to paraphrase one of his stories that he starts off his book with, his inspiration, because it's all about how we are each a seeker in this world. And this particular time, this character in the story wanted truly to be awakened to life's joy. So he heard the news. He heard about an awakened one, a keeper of the mystic truth, of the keys to knowing that truth through happiness and freedom. And he heard that this person was traveling in his region. Few, they said, had ever been allowed to speak with this lofty soul, but many had been comforted and blessed just by being in the presence of that one. Oh, the seeker's heart leapt with anticipation, because he knew if he could just sit at the feet of this master, no matter what it required of him, through his pursuit, he would find a way. And though the traveling there was an arduous journey, he arrived, and this determination brought him even more into that space of wanting to be in the encampment of this awakened one. The seeker pleaded so fervently with the attendants that they were moved to allow him a closer sitting with their master. And finally, they announced that he could have his audience, his personal audience, the next morning. and he rejoiced and could not sleep. At dawn's first light, he was ushered into the main camp. It was a clearing in the forest, and sitting by a small fire there was the great sage, enfolded in a hooded white robe, just as we would picture that. The seeker knelt on the other side of the fire and lost control and just began to sob. Imagine that at the end of your journey, just really finding your answer, those moments of ecstatic joy that you just want to sob. He caught his breath, composed himself, and then he told of his lifelong journey of searching, the passion, his relentlessness of trying to find his way, and finally all the frustration of trying to find truth, to find answers. When he finished, he felt pangs of embarrassment from his uncontrolled litany. Have you ever felt that way? Somebody says, "How are you?" and then you tell them, and they're like, "Oh, that was a litany." That's what the word litany means. He looked up in time to see the Great One pull back the hood of the robe. The seeker was stunned. The master before him, I like this part, was a woman. And her radiance immediately sent waves of warmth, flooding him all over. Her features expressed the essence of feminine energy, gentle but powerful, ageless, compassionate. It was not what he expected, yet somehow he knew it exactly what he wanted and what he needed. She began to speak, but not simple answers, no. Instead, she offered him an opportunity. Was he up to it? Was he really willing to challenge himself beyond anything he attempted before this moment? Would he be willing to be placed in a situation that he would have to find a way out, an experience that would force him to find a different approach? There was a risk, she explained. You could get lost in your experience, languish, even perish. As he considered her invitation, he felt a tightening of fear, followed by a great quickening of anticipation. He agreed to submit himself to this unknown trial. After all, how could it be worse than this constant gnawing that he had felt for a lifetime? Sensing the seeker's sincerity, the awakened one rose and moved slowly before him. She lifted her hands and placed them upon his forehead. The seeker immediately plunged into an alternate reality. He felt himself accelerating beyond control down some sort of passageway, some corridor. Then he fell to its floor, and the space closed up all around him, and he lay stunned in cavernous darkness. When his eyes adjusted, he could barely make out where he was and what was happening. And indeed, he felt trapped in a cave of darkness. Where was the lesson in this, he wondered. After a while, he began to look for the way out, and he placed his hands all over the walls, groping for a way out, looking for an opening of any kind, but he couldn't find anything. Just then the thought, he's lost, destitute. And there was just a minimal amount of food and water. It appeared just as if magic. It sustained him for a short while, but he continued searching for that way out. He lost track of time and marked his days by the disappearance of every meal. At one point, he began to climb up little crevices in the wall, thinking that an opening might be near the ceiling of the cave, but again he found nothing. Several times he fell back into the floor. Day after day, he was searching. He scoured every inch of the place, but to no avail, and he felt totally trapped and bruised in so many ways. As dark was this cave, after a while the seeker stumbled onto an even darker place. The darker place was within himself. He became uncontrollably angry, shouted, cursed, and railed against God, against the sage by the campfire, against life itself. Then he turned on himself, verbally lacerating himself as a miserable, lost, worthless being. No wonder he was cast into this living hell. After ranting for who knows how long, he collapsed in utter dejection and hopelessness. He felt like he was melting into the floor of the cave, melting into nothingness. There was no more fight. It was then he realized something that gave him his first sense of relief in a long time. It wasn't his entrapment that was the real problem. It was the nature of his searching, forceful, controlling, violent in its own way. He came to understand for the first time that this kind of searching was futile, damaging. It made finding an opening more elusive than ever. It was getting him nowhere, wearing him out, and it was preparing him for something else. Having played out so much within himself, he felt empty now, in a good way. No longer scrutinizing the walls, the ceilings, the floor of the cave, he closed his eyes and became very still, asked for help, and surrendered his resistance to the unknown. He made his awareness pliable and let go of his certainties, his judgments, let go of his judgments about everything. Then it began. He perceived a light gently glowing within him. How he had not seen that before. He took his whole attention there and gave himself to the light's allure. He felt himself moving again, but in a different way, expanding. The cave could no longer confine him. He didn't leave it, really. He grew bigger. The cave of darkness began to shrink into a small space within him, while at the same time he was enlarging into this extension of this pure light. The illusion was that he was within the cave. Now he knew that in truth, the cave was within him, and at that moment, he's set free. His opening was found not through overcoming, but by becoming more than the dark spaces we experience. It was the realization of all realizations. The way out was not out there, but in here. A portal to a more expansive and powerful reality. A light was within him, then and in every situation, all the time, no matter what. He relaxed, opened his eyes, and to his surprise, sitting at the campfire in the presence of the revered sage, he looked deeply into her eyes, and she smiled knowingly. Now he understood. A deep and marvelous joy surged forth from the wellspring he had discovered within himself. He too smiled. Joy revealed. The cave of darkness. Think about your own experiences, your own stories, your own struggles. There's no discounting the sadness of some of our stories, the ways that we find ourselves trapped within our own story, longing to feel set free, longing to experience the joy, the laughter that we feel in humanity around us sometimes. But we're lost, we're trapped. But the only way is to tap in to that inner light, to that divine grace, to that deep knowing. Joy revealed. Love is ever present. God is love. We hear that. God is love, but God is joy. God is that joy beating against our heart from the inside out to awaken us to the inner smile, to bless our experience as we smile, others smile. You test that for yourself. You smile, except it sometimes doesn't work in rest homes. I've tried. Sometimes those people are so sad, but I smile anyway and know that within them there's a longing for them to smile back, but they're so lost in the cave. But other times, a simple smile to a baby in the elevator, to a child that dressed up as feeling important and empowered as their superhero, a smile. So generous, so easy to give, filled with gratitude, such a part of the recipe for this divine love, for this divine appointment on the planet at this time. Roger Teal has these words of peacemaking: when I embrace my wounds and allow them to heal. Hear that. When you embrace your wounds and you allow them to heal, retelling your story over and over and over is pulling off the scab. It's trying to heal. But as we allow ourselves to continue to prolong our suffering, to keep allowing our wounds to be what is representing who we are, the heartbeat of this joy, longing to be revealed, is suppressed. So he says, when I embrace my wounds and allow them to heal, I have no impulse at all to injure you. When I understand my desire to be lifted up, I refuse to tear you down. When I think rightly about myself, I need not make you wrong. And when I cry for love, my cry for love opens my heart's doors. I no longer close you out. Roger Teal. I experienced the beauty of what Roger Teal is saying in that passage by going to the Bioneers Conference, which Jim and Nancy Purnell introduced to me so many years ago. I tucked it away in my bucket list. Someday I am going to a Bioneers Conference. And since then, my journey has taken me into many other avenues, many other experiences, many conferences, so much wisdom. To the Parliament of World Religions several times, and then I returned right to our own home state, and I witnessed what they brought to me, what the Purnells were trying to tap on the door of my heart and say, look here, my dear, because the Bioneers is a solution. The Bioneers is an advocacy for the world, for the earth. Yes, the Bioneers recognizes problems with the earth, problems with the air, problems with the water, problems, shifting, climate, everything's shifting, but they're solution-oriented. They're finding a way, they're teams of mystics and scientists and herbalists and women. Lots of women that are so powerful, and the indigenous people, I bow to them. They're reminding us to take care of our earth. There is the true joy, to dance and stomp in celebration and ritual upon the Mother Earth, to heal her wounds, to bless our air, to bless our ancestry, to remember who we are, that we're a lineage of souls, born again and again on this wonderful, beautiful planet. And the Bioneers remind us, and our intention in 2020 is to bring that here, is to bring that message to each one of our hearts, to wake us up to the pulsing of joy that dwells within each one of us. Isaiah says, "For you shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands." If we are listening, the trees, as the wind blows, are clapping their hands, celebrating. The wind is not an evil force. It is a clearing and a cleansing force. And the Mother Earth is finding her way back into harmony, back into balance, so that we each partake of the joy that is in every breath, in every heartbeat. Ernest Holmes says, the Spirit is joy. There's a passage in the Bible that says, rejoice evermore. Are you in touch with that fountain of joy? Are you that fountain of joy within you? Does that spring of joy bubble up in you, and can you feel the power of true joy? Reflect on the moments. A basket full of kitties made you smile. A puppy that comes to you. A child that reaches up to you. Those are the moments of divine innocence. That is the Mother Nature flowing through them. I am so taken by the babies that can laugh and giggle. I'm thinking, what? What's so funny? Tell me. This life is hard. Tell me what's funny. But they just giggle. Oh, yeah, that's too funny. That's funny. Because they have no words, just their laugh. And your heart is opening into tears of joy. So we all have these feelings of suffering. There's this longing sometimes to overcome the world, to just seriously deal with all this. What's going on? It's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call from the voices of humanity, but then there's so much more. The sages, the mystics, the scientists, the fellowship of truth being spoken these days is loud and clear. It's calling us home. It's calling us now. So no longer can we just keep focusing on different conditions and letting this worldly self try to figure it out? There is a higher calling, and the higher calling to that nature, to that light, just as the story shared, is within us. It might feel like we're stuck in this cave of darkness, but no, we're overcoming this. We're going to overcome what all of these ideas have brought us to this day, to understand, to deeply understand. One of my favorite speakers at the conference, Valerie Kaur, young, beautiful, young Sikh woman, so phenomenal, shares from her world. She's a young lawyer in San Francisco with 2 small children, and she's really dealing with the horrific ways society has told her father when he was carrying the child on his shoulders, "Why don't you go back where you came from?" And Valerie said, "Dad, did anybody speak up for you?" Not a word. On the ferry boat, nobody spoke. And I thought to myself, what would I say? What, can I say something? Would I say, would I be courageous enough? She went back to her staff and her law practice, and they researched, and they found, through her website, you can find it, Revolutionary Love. And she found 5 ways that you can speak back. When you hear that, speak back, so it's not judging. It's not spoken back with anger. It's spoken back with understanding and love. So there's tools that people have discovered, ways that we can reach into the suffering and to bring a sense of joy and healing and to stand with one another. And Valerie talked about it because she did just have these babies, and she talks about it as a labor of love. Because in labor, you have to get to that point of intensity, and we're at a point of intensity in our world. And there's a part where you have to keep breathing, she said, and push. Breathe and push into the fires of the world, she said. Joy enters in then. Let it in. Protect your joy every day. Push and breathe. Push and breathe. Such bravery, such love. I find those words and her message to something that we each can take home with us in our individual story. I'm not diminishing stories, but the way out into a light of understanding, into the revealing of joy. So we have these feelings of suffering that is evident in our times, this drama that keeps repeating itself in our human experience. And feeling and caring is what is making the difference. The pioneers, the Mother Earth, tending to the wounds. Let us not be distracted or numb our responsiveness or feel it's too big, it's too vast to venture in. Who am I to make a change, to make a difference? I was putting my mail vote in the other day, and I accidentally put it in the recycling. I thought, dang it, because I had to take the trash out. So I'm out there at night looking with my phone light, trying to see, and I thought, this is kind of creepy, as cars are driving by thinking, what's she looking for in there? And I thought, okay, it doesn't matter, it's just one vote. What I said to myself, I couldn't sleep that night, it's just one vote. That person's going, yeah, but it was a vote for me, and I kept thinking, I know. So I got up in the morning, went back and got my recycle and dumped it out in my backyard and found it, and I delivered it. And I felt so good, just one vote. But I could have just let that go. I could have just said, doesn't matter. But everything matters. Everything we do matters. Everything is a piece of that joy that we're longing for. Feeling and caring makes a difference. So let's look at this communion with life. Be like the child. Remember when we had that easy access to this flow. Try to remember back with your funny little bodies, your clothes that never quite fit right. And just the joy you had. It's a summer day, and I get to roll down the grass, and then it itches. But you do it again anyway, right? It's crazy. But that childlike access to this expansive place of joy within us, it's an aliveness and it's a foundation at our very core. This is the free dance of spirit I speak of. Now, I mentioned the Purnells again. I want to be their favorite person, so I'm keep mentioning them. But they invited a group of friends to their home in Fort Bragg, and I got to go to the botanical gardens. And joy was exuberantly pounding through all of us as we explored one area of the colors that I have never witnessed before. The bright, bold colors. I'm thinking, I never knew these colors existed in a flower. And they were just every corner that you turned. So you must visit that at the Botanical Gardens near Fort Bragg. It's just the most exquisite. And you walk in, and then you're through the flowers, through the many gardens, and then you come to the orchards of trees. And they are there for hundreds of years, these beautiful trees, joy building. And then you get to the cliffs, to the ocean, and the waves are calling you. The waves are calling you. The vast sense of the sea is saying, remember. Remember this vast joy, this beauty of the mother. I give this to you for your eyes to see, your heart to feel, the joy to expand and beat from your heart. Wake up. Open your eyes and see the colors in our world. This deep joy is the eternal quality of spirit calling us. Life is consciousness, and pain and changes that we endure in this material world, it's just a level of experience asking us to wake up. We will get through this. We will get through all things as we reach into one another and find a companion on the journey to speak the truth. So the sense of smiling, laughter, enduring, all of this is God's invitation. The nature of this one is a light of truth, wholeness, and peace, and joy. This is not a fleeting joy, but a powerful joy that calls you to action, the waves in the ocean. You stand there mesmerized, they're calling you. The sacred waters are calling us, the blue skies, the clouds in the sky calling us, the beautiful sun calling us. This joy is an aliveness that's never dampened. Let it reveal to you a vision. Let it light up your soul to know what really matters. Our air that we breathe matters. The land we walk on matters. For generations to come, we look at the sweet children when they remind us of that inner joy. We say, to you, my dear child, I will do whatever I can to make this world a world that works for all, that all people can breathe, that all people will have enough water, that all people will feel safe. Every animal will feel safe, every living creature. So we're not talking about a pleasure joy. It's deep. It's an optimal state of being, not because something gratifying has to come from this, because it just will. It just happens. Gratitude is part of the experience in itself, but it's natural. It's who we are. It's in our blood. It's in our cells. I am the joy of the Spirit. Say that with me now. I am the joy of the Spirit. Say that inside. I am the joy of the Spirit. I am the joy of the Spirit. Say it. I am the joy of the Spirit. And say it one more time and let a smile be left on your face. I am the Spirit. It's not always going to be easy because the hardships come, but we know that the hardships go. They will pass. Beneath it is a healing balm of spiritual joy. This will inspire you. It will inspire you to take care of the sacred earth, to take care of the sacred universe, to take care of one another. Life's experience and grief will be touched by this magnificence. Think about ending your day always by saying, this is the best day ever. There's a passage as I close that comes from a book called Radical Joy for Hard Times. finding meaning and making beauty in earth's broken places. There's so much to understand. There's so much to listen deeply to. If you could make it your spiritual practice this week to tune to another news, an alternative news, one that you're not usually listening to try to listen. What is their story? What is their side? I don't have to align with it necessarily, but we need to hear one another. We need to reverently and deeply listen to one another with a sense of kindness, with a sense of, I am the witness here to what is. And as I choose to listen, and instead of armoring myself, I choose to listen so that a greater light, they feel heard, their light shines, I feel heard, my light shines, and then we find resolution. We will find our way. We work with it together. So this joy has to do with this sudden, full-bodied epiphany that you are part of the murky, the marvelous, the ceaseless, the surge of life, and the life is going to keep surprising you no matter how down in the dumps you are. In this flow of things swept past, death, falling in love, losing your phone, holding a baby, hating your job, immersing yourself in a book, getting a dreaded medical diagnosis, diving into a cool pool on a hot day, there is nothing wrong. Then with opening up fully to that joy, when it grabs you, for you have not chosen it, you have simply passed under its stream and found yourself momentarily rained upon. Oh my, the love of that, the invitation of that, the invitation of the calling of these hard times is to practice the smile, the genuine deep smile, and to remember who we are. So let's join together in a prayer that deepens that commitment, that deepens that understanding. I invite you as you close your eyes, I want you to immerse yourself in the light that the seeker felt, as the exuberant joy that he witnessed. We each are the seeker. We each are the sage. And as we sit as one in union with this truth, we recall in the memories of our heart and our mind and in our awareness the many sweet joys, the laughter with good friends, the sunset, the sunrise, the beauty of a simple flower, a good joke that allows your belly to just laugh so hard you could hardly breathe, the deep joy of simple act of putting on your mom's sweater and wearing her for the day because you miss her. The deep way, joy is calling us back to who we are. So I celebrate as you each allow the smile to penetrate the sorrow you might have felt a moment ago. No, let that smile sweep across your face as you remember who you are and the joy that is open to you always. It's a give, it's a receive. So I give thanks for the divine appointment I have had in this celebration of understanding myself, joy revealed. Thank you, God, for the moments of such joyful laughter, of the giggles, of the sweetness of those moments, but also the moment, the impulse of joy beat within my heart when I was so sad and so sorry. The impulse of joy revealed reminded me once again to open my eyes and live a good life. This is the calling. We stand together, bound together in joy, bound together in great love. I celebrate this today. I want you to feel the smile in your heart, the smile upon your face. You're making a difference. You're making a difference by showing up with a smile in your heart and on your face. So be it. We are grateful. And so it is. Thank you.